It was early September, the time when summer still clung tightly to Mother Nature's robe. But he awoke cold. He blinked sluggishly at the wall before him, struggling to wrap the blanket more securely around himself without moving from the warm space his body had created in the mattress. He watched, for a while, light dance along the wall beside him as his mind settled into full consciousness. He tried to remember what day it was. His body felt sure it was Friday, but as his brain finished switching on, he knew it was only Thursday. With a sigh, he shut his eyes again, wondering if he could call in sick rather than deal with the mess he had created the night before. Could he really be held responsible for what he said when he was exhausted? Ducking his head under the pillow, he tried to push away the memory of the frustrated words he had shot at his coworker last night before abandoning her to handle the case files alone. Being that tired had to be a form of drunkenness, right? Rolling over and pulling the pillow from his head, he turned his back to the wall, preparing to get up and face the day. But then he paused, gaze stalling at the window, frown catching on his mouth. Something white, like frost, clung to his window pane. Cold air blew through the slightly ajar window. He had left it open the night before, as the room had been stuffy and overly warm when he had finally crashed, still fully clothed, into his bed. But now there was frost on his window? This made no sense. It was September. He rose to his feet and shuffled awkwardly to the window, blanket wrapped tightly around his form. He stared out at a view that was, usually, familiar to him. Apartments across the way with blinds and curtains in various degrees of open or closed. A few shuttered curtains swayed with the sweep of invisible movement as the people behind them went about their day. In a few open windows, he glimpsed somewhat familiar faces beginning their mornings. Familiar, but also foreign. He blinked his eyes hard as though trying to clear his vision. There was no snow. Just one story below his vantage point, he saw people in the street. Trees and bushes lined the cement walkways. A cat walked across the hood of a parked car. Squirrels scurried across telephone lines. But the world beyond his window was blanketed in whites and blacks and grays. It was as if color had been stolen from everything. Everything. Everyone was shaded in black and white, but there was no panic. No one seemed to notice anything amiss at all. He took a quick step back as panic became a banging thrum in his own chest. His gaze swung around the room. His own curtains were still a dark green, the plants sitting on his windowsill as well, leaves vibrantly shaded, tips turned up seeking nourishment from the blazing white sun. The blanket wrapped around him was still a startling purple, the hands fisted in its folds still brown. He forced himself to calm, pulling in long breaths, holding them, and then releasing them by rote. He wanted to stay where he was, as far from the strange sight as possible, but his feet moved forward without his command, inching him close to the window once more. He looked down at his hands again. They were still brown, but now shaking. He blew out a slow breath that ended on a panicked sob. He felt it pull up his throat and leave his mouth, but it made no sound. He realized then that he didn't hear any sounds at all. Not morning traffic, or music, or clatter from the street. Just silence as he looked down on the typical weekday routine of the colorless world below. Then he noticed what he had thought at first from afar had been frost was not. The color began to wash away on his curtain first.